This is a video just for Christians. I have a reply in my inbox to one of my comments by a user called Random331, that is Mac. He says, it's tragic that any child reading Revelation 7 and 14 could figure out that the 144,000 are males, virgin and Jewish, but you can't. You're not just tragic, you're also an idiot. Okay, Mac, I'm pleased that you came back with this, because this is an opportunity for me to show you how the Bible is correctly interpreted. Fundamentalists grab verses, scrape verses out, cherry pick. They'll find one verse, interpret that verse literally and base a whole doctrine on it, but that is not the right way to study the Word. What we do is we look at the context, who wrote the book, the letter, who they're writing it to, and we look at the style of literature. So a poem or apocalyptic literature, which is what Revelation is, we don't interpret that in the same way as we might interpret narrative. Yeah. So earlier on in Revelation, Jesus Christ is described as having a two-edged sword coming out of his mouth. That is not meant to be interpreted literally, but it's meant to be understood intellectually. What it means is the words of Jesus are as sharp, as penetrating, as piercing as a sword. So let's look at this bit of text then. To follow me, you'll need BibleGateway.com or a Bible. As you pointed out, the group in chapter 14 is the same group as in chapter 7. I'll do chapter 14 first. Let's start with the structure. We notice that chapter 14 verses 1 to 5 belong with chapter 13 verses 11 to 18. As you probably know, chapters and verses were added later and they are not part of the original text. We know these two blocks belong together because of the similarities in the text. Both sets of people are worshippers. The first group worship the beast, the second group worship the lamb. The first group are marked on the forehead with the mark of the beast. The second group are sealed on the forehead with the name of God. These two groups are being contrasted, they're opposites distinct from each other. Okay, already this should be ringing a bell with you. This is standard Christian doctrine. The kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of light. The unsaved and the saved, the children of the devil and the children of God. So the second group is all Christians, what we call the church. There's much more in the text though. Okay. Let's look at how the second group is described. They were purchased from among men. Now that phrase has already been used earlier in Revelation 5 verse 9. This is what it says. You purchased men for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. Yeah, note that. Every tribe, people and nation. Not Jews. Not Jewish male virgins. Every nation. That is the church. Let's look at some other details of how they're described. They are redeemed from the earth. They are offered to God as first fruits. Do these phrases mean anything to you? Because they are descriptions of Christians in other New Testament books. 1 Peter 1. We are redeemed with the blood of Christ. Romans 8. We ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait for the redemption of our bodies. And even that curious reference to their virginity is a reference to the church. This is what it says in Revelation 14. They did not defile themselves with women, for they kept themselves pure. It's a forward reference to Revelation 18, which describes the fall of Babylon. This is what it says. For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her. Obviously you can't have literal adultery with a city, so what this means, it's symbolic. The nations are committing spiritual adultery with Babylon. Many times in the Bible, adultery is a reference for spiritual adultery. But contrasted to that, the saints in chapter 14 are pure. They are reserved for Christ. And Paul says the same thing to the church in Corinth. This is what it says. For I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betrothed you to one husband, to present you as a pure virgin to Christ. That's probably enough. I was going to go through 144,000, the number, a bit more tricky. It's not literal, it's symbolic. And again, it identifies the second group of people as the church. Revelation 7, there are more references in the text that identify this group as the church. But I won't go on anymore. I think it's clear. The only reason I can see for someone insisting on a different interpretation to this is to fit some pet doctrine. And I think that's a dangerous game to play, because we need to love the truth.